People usually think of Nintendo as a company that makes kid-friendly games, with characters that represent traits like friendship and teamwork and good, clean fun. But if you're a parent, you should know that Nintendo is using those cute and colorful characters to pressure kids into spending real-world money and form some seriously dangerous spending habits. And I'm not talking about the good old days when Nintendo's marketing team would flood our eyeballs with branded crap like Mario Lunchboxes and mac and cheese, which was freaking delicious, by the way. Oh, no. I think it's much better that Nintendo's cutting out the pesky middlemen, parents, and grocery stores and just asking kids to make purchasing decisions themselves on their phones. A little psychological manipulation here, some addictive game design there. That's great. That's just really great for growing minds. No, but seriously, ask yourself, how old were you the very first time you saw Mario? What, 5, 6 years old? Maybe even younger? My point is that Nintendo is a company that many of us grow up with. Even if you weren't playing their games as a kid, you almost certainly knew the characters from the toys and the movies and the Happy Meals. The fact is that children come into contact with this brand at a very young age. And in an ideal world, it would be a company we could trust with our kids' attention. But the ugly truth is that Nintendo's released a slew of manipulative phone games that have pulled in more than $2 billion from their players, many of them children. Between the pressures to spend, habit-forming rewards, gambling mechanics, all the way to lawsuits filed by actual children, there's so much more to the story than just mobile games are scummy. And at the heart of it all, Nintendo is sinking their hooks into kids that are so young they don't understand what they're signing up for. We already know why they're doing it. That's painfully obvious. But today, let's talk about how they're doing it. My name is Clyde, and welcome to episode 4 of Nintendo is Not Your Friend. And as a small YouTuber, I just want to say, thank you for being here. If you like today's video, please consider subscribing or saying hello in the comments. It really does go a long way to helping the channel out. So thank you. All right, so rather than just talk about the experience of being monetized, I'm gonna go ahead and just pull out my phone, install Mario Run on this thing, and we'll just see how bad things actually are. All right, looks like we've installed the game. Cool. Yep, it's my first time playing. Let's accept that license agreement. Okay, name, not your friend. Wait, what's this? Purchase? What?
Wait, that's it, that's time!
That's right, folks. We've officially got a new world record in the any percent glitchless category for fastest time for Nintendo to ask you for money. Clyde with a time of 12.35 seconds. I did it. I got monetized? I got monetized! And look, I get that I'm poking fun at this issue, but the point is that in less than 20 seconds of a player starting the game for the first time, before they've even really played the game, they're already being asked to make a purchasing decision. And this alone would already be a little bit yikes, but Nintendo ups the griminess to a whole nother level by adding this. A timer. This little ticking clock and the text box telling you can unlock more cute Mario characters if you pay up is what makes this absolutely vile. And you and I, we're adults, right? We understand that this is just some fake impulse buy bullshit. There's no actual special sale going on here. You can just reinstall the game and that timer will reset. But young kids? They may not understand this is a tactic. Consider the fact that this might be a child's very first time ever seeing a microtransaction, and it's covered in cute Mario characters they love playing with. And kids don't get a warning with this kind of stuff. They don't get a PSA. But I think we can actually fix that. We have the memes.
Listen, you got at least 3/4 of your life to go. That's 3 more lifetimes to you. So don't blow it.
Don't do microtransactions.
If you're doing it, stop it. Get some help.
What you're seeing listed here is just a few of the many mechanics that developers have been using in the mobile space for years to get players hooked on their games. And Nintendo just copied the formula. And while we're going to go through 2 or 3 of these tactics in today's video, the reality is I don't have the time or the bandwidth to go through all of these, and we'd be here all day. But make no mistake, these tricks are anything but simple. They've been designed from the ground up with a player's psychology in mind to appeal to very specific goals and to entice them. Here it is from the horse's mouth.
Model what you sell according to bartle types. I assume you're all familiar with bartle types. The achievers want to progress in the game. The socializers want to speak to other people. The killers just want to compete and kill each other. And the explorers are the guys who are after stories and experiences. So this is from Will Luton's suggestion to...
Yeah, that's some pretty icky stuff. And it's even more icky when you consider the fact that it's being used to manipulate children. A lot of these gamers are just young kids that are just playing with their favorite toys, latching onto characters they love. They don't understand that they're being targeted. And side note here, I want to acknowledge I grew up in a different time, when the internet came in the mail on AOL CDs and kids proudly rocked the Moto Razr at school. I'm in my 30s now, and I acknowledge that a lot of the things we're talking about are just the new normal when it comes to the mobile space. But even as such, I still think it's worth talking about. I'm not saying that every single tactic used by mobile game developers is necessarily evil or even manipulative, just that we should understand them so we can protect our kids from forming potentially dangerous habits. Okay, that's my disclaimer. Take a mechanic like daily login bonuses. If you've played a mobile game in the last 5 years, you already know what this is. It's when the game gives you a prize for logging in every single day. And again, as adults, I think a lot of us understand what they're doing with this kind of stuff, right? They're trying to get us to form a habit, to get used to playing the game every single day. The rewards themselves are inconsequential. They're just little hits of dopamine to keep us coming back. But children don't understand this. To them, these games are just another way they play with their favorite characters, much like the Game Boy was for many of us back in the day. Only now, Nintendo's dangling a prize, an incentive to keep playing every single day. And kids get hooked. Those hooks become habits, and before the kids even know it, they're absorbed in these games because the games keep rewarding them for coming back. And if you're sitting there like, dude, parents can just take away their kids' phones. Problem solved. And I'm here to tell you that is way easier said than done. My guy, do you know what happens when you try to take away a kid's phone? And that's not me shaming kids, by the way. Back in the day, if my dad took away my Game Boy, I would look him in the eyes and I would tell him I'm running away from home and I'm gonna go live in a tree. Man, tantrums in 2024 just hit different. My point is that technology is already pretty interesting on its own. The last thing we need is psychologists in the ears of game developers telling them how they can make this stuff even more addictive. I promise. They don't need the help. I can't even stop myself from binge watching entire seasons of The Bachelor every weekend. What chance do children have against games that are literally programmed to juice their brains as much as possible?
I don't want
Microtransactions.
but I'm not going to go down with girls talking.
What the are you doing here?
Nintendo.
Keep my name out of your mouth.
Why are you here? Why did she even come here? Are you kidding?
Seriously, if you're not watching this, you're missing out. In late 2023, a bombshell hit the gaming world when it was announced the country of China was actually looking at exploring options to ban the concept of daily login bonuses altogether. And this is due to the fact that gambling rates are exploding all over the world, with the mobile space only accelerating this problem. Don't take my word for it though. You can basically pick whichever country you want and a quick Google search will show you that people younger and younger are getting addicted to gambling. This is a genuine crisis, and now more than ever we should be willing to take a step back and ask ourselves, what is prompting this? And don't get me wrong, I don't know if it's a 1-to-1 ratio, but I can't help but feel that loading up our mobile games with a bunch of addictive mechanics probably isn't helping the situation. But hey, that's just my opinion. So far, we've talked about how quickly they ask players to spend money and the types of tricks they use to keep players coming back. Now let's talk about the gambling aspect of these games, because this is one area where Nintendo's actually had some real pushback. When Mario Kart Tour launched in 2019, it broke records on day one, more than 10 million downloads. Nintendo had taken something people love, i.e. playing Mario Kart, and stuck it onto people's phones. It was basically guaranteed to be a success. But pretty quickly, articles started to pop up that highlighted just how exploitive the game was. In an article for Forbes, Dave Thier said this: Mario Kart Tour is an addictive experience for all the wrong reasons, and it's an addictive experience designed specifically to get you to open your wallet. We've got daily login bonuses, challenges that award meager amounts of premium currency, a progression system that starts slow and quickly becomes onerous, a subscription that lets you fast-track rewards, the whole shebang. This is a cobbled together piece of every microtransaction strategy on the market, and the game wants to push all of them.
How much money are we talking about?
1s, 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s, 100s, keep them coming.
And if that wasn't bad enough, Nintendo decided to take the core competitive mechanic of this game, customizing your vehicle in a racing game, and also tie that to microtransactions. Sure, you could spend hours and hours grinding tedious amounts of races to unlock equipment, or you could hand them mommy's credit card and go gambling. And I use the word gambling intentionally because the rewards for this game were randomized. Oh, you wanted the cool race car? Well, too bad, you're getting the ugly caterpillar thing. And if you want another shot, you better go gambling. Money means nothing to me. I love pay to win.
one
Microtransaction.
and I hit you again.
I'm buying loot boxes.
And as fun as it is for me to meme on this kind of stuff, the good news is that a lot of gamers actually push back on this aggressive monetization. In fact, the wildest one I've seen involves an actual child suing Nintendo. Their lawsuit is calling for refunds for any underage kids that purchased loot boxes in the game. It apparently all started because the kid spent $170 on in-game purchases, which, quick side note, if I did that back in the day and my mom found out,
Let me see what you have.
Mommy's credit card.
No! Oh my God.
as of this recording, the case is still pending, but it's worth noting that under the related deceptive techniques section, there's actually terms like forced purchase and fake urgency. Yeah, those sound pretty familiar. Making people do something like, say, logging in every day to give them a reward, or slapping them with a fake time limit to pressure them into a quick sale. And if you're sitting there like, Clyde, there's a court case in the works, just give it time. Nintendo will see justice for all this slimy stuff. Boy, do I have news for you.
Will Nintendo be held accountable?
Don't count on it. Aww.
There's no way Nintendo's lawyers will get him out of this one. And while I am happy that this court case is getting attention, the reality is this is just one bucket in that ocean of monetization we talked about earlier. In fact, let's step away from the tactics, because the truth is, even if Nintendo removed half of these scummy techniques from their mobile games, they would still be way too toxic for children to be playing. And for me, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's the real problem with this situation. No matter how old you are on the other side of this video, the fact of the matter is that Nintendo is a brand that is deliberately aimed at children. Their stories are simple. Their characters are bright and colorful. They market their products on things like kids' toothbrushes and cereal boxes and Happy Meals. And in my humble opinion, with that level of visibility should come some basic responsibility to be a good steward for children, to instill good values, to tell hopeful stories, to challenge them, yes, but not to exploit them, not to get them hooked by vicious psychological tricks. Look, at the end of the day, I grant that Nintendo is a company and they are entitled to earn a profit. And they're certainly not the only company out there using a lot of these scummy techniques. But I would argue they're the most visible. They're the most iconic. The one that a lot of parents trust as a safe brand for their children to play with. They shouldn't take advantage of that trust. My very first video game was Super Mario World, all the way back on the Super Nintendo. I have incredible memories of my dad showing me how the controller worked and making Mario jump on the screen. And I'm so grateful to Nintendo for making those moments in my life possible. But there's a part of me that wonders, if I was a kid growing up today, and Mario Kart Tour was my first video game, would I have been a kid that got hooked on loot boxes? Would that have been the game and the tricks that started me down a path of gambling? I don't know, and honestly, it's not too nice to think about. So what can you do if you're a parent and you want to protect your gamer kids from forming dangerous habits? Well, first off, ask them what they're playing. Ask them to tell you about it. Don't be reluctant to look those games up on sites like Common Sense Media to see if there's aggressive monetization in the game. I appreciate that not every parent has the bandwidth to go through a kid's phone and understand all the games that are on it. I don't expect anybody has that bandwidth. But I would caution you that if your kids are approaching you asking to make purchases in these types of games, talk to them about it. Is it something they're being pressured into? Is it a recurring fee? These are important questions. And lastly, and probably most importantly, if you see spooky habits forming, do something. I'm not convinced Nintendo's going to act responsibly here anytime soon. So please, don't just assume that because a game features a brand that you trust that it's automatically safe for kids. The Mario I grew up with tried to sell us mac and cheese, but today it's a damn different story. And from where I'm sitting, until they decide to do better on this front, this is going to remain just one more reason as to why Nintendo is not your friend. But if you'd like to be a friend of the channel, please consider leaving a comment or liking the video or subscribing. It really does help us out a lot. And as always, thank you so much for your time. It is a blast making these videos. It is a lot of fun horsing around with you guys. So thank you very much for just being here, being a part of the fun energy. Next week, we're going to be back with an episode on Nintendo's hostile relationship with their fans. We're going to be going into the DMCAs, the lawyers, all sorts of legal shenanigans they love sicking on people around the internet. It is going to be a very litigious episode, so I do hope you'll join us for it. It's going to be a fun one, so bring your popcorn and legal hat, and it'll be a blast. If you missed episode 3, here's a link to our video on Nintendo's pricing tricks and how they get us all to pay full price for their games, so check it out if you haven't seen it yet. All right, I'm out of here. Thank y'all for the time, y'all. Have a wonderful weekend ahead, and see y'all soon.